worldwide solar and energy storage podcast at Intersolar San Diego. Stay classy, San Diego. Whoa, whoa.
Here we are. We're staying classy in San Diego, right, you guys?
Absolutely.
And so we've got Tim Price, the CRO of SOLO LLC, and we have Trace Jenkins, who's the senior sales engineer of SOLO LLC. So I imagine that you guys are kind of into like future space stuff, and you named your company after Han Solo. Is that correct, or is it the cup?
True to form to that, it's the speed of light operations. SOLO.
Oh, so speed of light operations. All right, yeah.
There used to be a space theme for the company. Yeah.
And so speed of light, let's think about that. Like they say that electricity goes to speed of light, but really it's like when you have those balls and then like there's 4 balls and you click one and the ones in the middle don't move and the other one's like kind of pushes the other one. So the electrons aren't going at the speed of light unless it's this thing called SLAC. Have you guys heard of SLAC? It's the Stanford, they have like this electron accelerator there. It's like the longest building in the world.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, very nice.
And so it's just like this really long, narrow building where they're accelerating electrons, which is kind of dangerous probably, if you don't want to get in the way of those.
It's all for science.
Electrons. But electricity in the cord, the speed of light is like how fast, like you touch something on this side of the cord and the other side of the cord, it's close to the speed of light. However, the electrons aren't moving the speed of light that much. It's sort of like taking marbles, putting marbles in a hose, and then you put one in one end and it pushes the one out the other end. That's kind of how so that's what's happening at the speed of light a lot of times. And so you guys have a software company and you guys are making like proposals and designing and engineering and all that kind of stuff. And so when you're doing that, I guess your software goes at the speed of light, right? Is that?
If all goes well, yes, that's.
And I had somebody that I put on my podcast recently, a friend of mine that lives near me. His name's Mike Bishop. And he was working for this early software company in the solar industry in like 2006 called OnGrid. And back in those days, it was like they were the only game in town. And it was just like a couple of guys with a spreadsheet, and they were like locking cells, and you'd get on the call twice a week and they would tell you how to use the spreadsheet and all that kind of stuff. Classic. And so it's kind of interesting how it all evolved.
Oh yeah, it was so casual back in the day. I've been in solar for about 12 years and I stumbled into it just because my roommate who was delivering pizzas happened to deliver to a solar place, and he's like, this looks pretty cool. And the guy was like, do you want a job? And then he's like, hey, you should come over here too. It's pretty cool. Stuck around in it, but it was so casual. Everything was kitchen table or garage setups for all the companies at that time. And they grew into like titans of industry over those years.
I wonder how many company startups are related to pizza.
Or job opportunities.
It's what fuels genius. It has to be.
Yeah, I think like Bitcoin had something to do with pizza. The first ever transaction was for pizza.
Oh, that's funny. Really?
And what was it, like 10,000 Bitcoin? Like now it's worth $1 billion. So it's 2 pizzas, so $500 million a pizza.
Yeah.
So that's like, whatever it was, how big are the slices? Like $50 million a slice, right? Something like that. So
yeah, I saw a tournament back in the day that like it was just like for a game, and like the top prize was $500, second prize was $250, and then third and fourth was 15 Bitcoin to each. Because it was only worth like $1 maybe at that time.
I sure wouldn't have wanted to win that tournament. I'd want to have, place a little bit later. Yeah. Yeah. And so we're all sitting here at Intersolar in San Diego, and we have the solar games happening. So sometimes you'll be able to hear them in the background. And if you're looking on YouTube, you can actually even see some of these people competing. And I didn't get their autographs, so I'll probably get sued. I was a judge earlier today, and so I was trying to get them to pay me money to win, but I couldn't.
No one took your bait.
I couldn't pull anything off. I think it was because they were already throwing the game so that they could bet against themselves on Paddy Market or something like that.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you make the software, and tell me who your customers are, who you're looking for, and then why you're the best.
Great question. I mean, our customers are, traditionally EPCs and installers. So, companies that are really active in selling to homeowners and installing systems. And we're purely 95% residential, light commercial is sort of the customer base. Nationwide, obviously, the sun states are the big, more prevalent solar states. That are certain states that have had a history of having more incentives. Those are still Illinois, Washington, Oregon still have some state level incentives now that we're not able to tap into any of the federal incentives that went away on the 31st of December. So, but yeah, so any EPC installer that's doing, 5 to 10 installs per month or more, that's really an ideal customer for us. And, the whole gig is to, again, help them create designs that are accurate, proposals that homeowners can easily understand, and then provide a host of financing options at that homeowner experience as well. They're integrated, making it real easy to open and close a deal right in someone's kitchen table.
Yeah, so the customer-owned tax credit expired December 31st, 2025. And now we still have like the corporation-owned system. And so you could do a lease or a PPA or something.
Yeah, the era of TPO.
Yeah, and so that third-party ownership. Yeah. Thermoplastic polyolefin also. It's a roofing membrane that on a lot of commercial roofs, very popular.
Yep.
And so was most of your business before the expiration of the tax credit customer-owned? Or is like, do you think people have the right to own things and have tax credits, or should only corporations own things and have tax credits?
Well, the answer to that question is kind of complicated in terms of, we loved having that tax credit for the homeowner because it shortened the ROI time cycle. So I could buy a $30,000 system with that tax credit, 30%, realize my payback in, less than 10 years.
But even a corporation, they still get another extra benefit. They get depreciation. So they can write off the depreciate a system. So there's all these benefits for corporations. So shouldn't everybody be a corporation? That's what I keep asking.
That's a good point. It seems a little unfair at times. So that's great.
I think I'm going to pass a bill and then make that bill say that everybody's born is automatically a corporation.
There you go.
And then they can have all these rights and they could get the tax credit.
Absolutely. There's no more juniors, only LLCs. It's just your name, then LLC at the end of everything.
Yeah. And I think that also too, when you're you could be selling stuff right now, I think this would even be legal. I've never heard of anybody doing this, but you're selling a solar system and you're like, oh, we'll just send you, it's $5 to make yourself a Delaware corporation. And then you get the tax credit.
There you go. That's it. If someone's probably working on that as we speak.
Yeah. And so it kind of overwrites the loophole of the customer ownership. So the customer owns a corporation that owns the system. And then you could perhaps depreciate it. I guess you would have to run some of your other money through it too, probably for depreciation and a tax credit, because you would need to owe taxes. And so you'd have to just run your money through the corporation. But there's a lot of benefits to having a corporation. That's I have a corporation, it's legal, and it helps me with taxes. Maybe it shouldn't be that way. And our corporation's weird too. They're just made up imaginary things that don't really exist or physically or anything. They're just at the speed of light on your computer chips.
There you go.
Yeah.
True story.
And so are you mostly dealing with residential solar with your software company?
Yeah.
Primarily, definitely.
And then is it something too that salespeople have on their iPads and all that kind of stuff? Is that kind of where?
Yeah, depending on the size of the company, they're going to deploy technology in the field, or they're going to enable the sales rep from afar. The night before, they get an address, they're going to make an appointment, set the sales rep up with the materials to go and present to the customer. Usually it's in an online computer or iPad, or sending the customer a link to an interactive application so they can see their proposal, all the different machinations of design options, add-ons, and then financing options. So yeah, in bigger companies, more sophisticated approaches.
So one of the things about the corporate tax credit is there's two different ways, two different expiration dates. And so one of them is going to be July 4th this year. You have to start the project by then. And that's probably more the bigger projects, not residential and stuff like that. So people, if you're doing a big old $1 billion project, it's going to take years to do. So you want to get something started, and they could just write a check or do something to get it started. And then the other one is going to be the end of 2027, New Year's Eve. You have to have the project completed by then, just like the residential project had to be completed for the customer owned was December 31st, 2025. So it's 2 years later, same kind of race. And so do you see people out there, your customers that are using your software, are they focused on getting things done before 2027? Is there any people that are doing residential solar that even care about starting a project before July 4th, 2026, because they're going to have it done before anyway, because it's a residential project. Hopefully it doesn't take a year and a half to complete. Yeah, I've seen it happen.
No, I think you're right. I think most people in the residential side aren't really that concerned with that time frame, but just like the tax credit always had a 2030 expiration timeline on it, and that got expedited. This 2027 timeline is in there for the TPO projects. I think we're all now sort of adjusting to change as normal. And so a new administration, or there will be change again. There'll be something beyond 2027, new programs, prepaid leases that will be coming in. And, just kind of like you were joking around about the corporations, forming corporations, letting the homeowners do that. There will be an angle. And I think, water finds a way. Solar's going to find a way because it's the cheapest form of power on earth. That thing comes up every morning, goes down every night. Very, very dependable. And we're harnessing, and with the technology here at the show, there's more and more innovation going on around solar. So it's going to continue to be amazing source of power and renewable energy. So that's where I just feel like no matter what they throw at us, we're going to find a way.
This podcast is brought to you by Sunlight. Sunlight makes you shine.
Yeah, and the thing that I don't like is just the abrupt changes in policy, where it's just like 30% gone to the, at this exact second,
It's brutal, foolish.
I wonder, because there's different time zones. Like, I finished a project in New York, but I was using Hawaii time or something like that.
That's funny.
Yeah, and how do they know? I remember my neighbor on December 31st this year, New Year's Eve, they had people in raincoats on the roof installing solar. I've heard a number of stories like that where they're just trying to get it done before midnight,
Yeah, we had a conversation with a company a while back where they were mathing out how many rain days they could realistically have to be able to finish their pipeline by the end of the year. And I think they had 3 days of potential rain that they could do while still finishing everything. It's crazy how much they've planned it out to make sure
they must be in a place that's dry, because some people that live in rainforests, they just have to do it when it's raining,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I live in Oregon, and I worked for APC for 2 years, and the only thing that takes you off the roof is heat and ice.
Yeah, I remember there's guys out there pushing the snow off the roof.
Yeah. I did a lot of designs in Minnesota and Wisconsin, and they always were gung-ho to get up on the roof no matter what.
Yeah, they look at us people that are not living in snow country as being wimps.
Yeah.
So as far as your software, where do you go to find customers and things like that? You come here to this show, you find customers in different places. What makes yours different?
Again, the number of EPCs and installers shrunk over the past several years. A lot of consolidation, a lot of people moving on to other industries. So the TAM, the total addressable market, is a little smaller, but
the TAM, what was that?
Total addressable market, the TAM.
Total addressable market, TAM.
So that's our Timpano. So we're all, we're focused on that group of customers. It fits within that EPCs, installer, marketplace, and it's competitive. With AI is fueling a whole nother evolution of design and proposal software. Homeowners are smarter because of AI, because of Google, than ever before. So people are coming into looking at solar more educated than ever before. So the software has to be quick, efficient, accurate, have a lot of optionality, because homeowners oftentimes enter into those sales calls knowing what they want. And so what you thought they might want is going to have to change. So being able to readily make those changes on the fly right there at the kitchen table or online when you're visiting with the customer, that's kind of what our software is, geared toward, is flexibility, optionality, and then, different EPCs, different installers sell differently. Some are door knocking. So they're going to do a design from, are you interested? Would you like to learn about this now? All of a sudden they're in the kitchen table designing a system for that. So yeah, we've got to have a lot of those, accommodate for a lot of that optionality.
That's kind of interesting. You say AI, it sounded like you were talking about AI is kind of keeping people in check. So if you didn't have AI, people might be more likely to sign a contract that wasn't good. And now they can ask their AI, is this a good price per watt? Or what do you think about this? And so in a way, the computers, the Terminator or whatever, the smart computers are keeping the people honest.
It's definitely leading to a much more technical buyer that is going to have a lot more questions. They're going to be researching to see their options, and they're going to make sure that the person that they're talking to is trustworthy. And, it's especially in modern day with how many companies have fallen through, the ones that are left, they want to make sure that they're around still for a reason, and making sure that, they're going to be here for the long run, to make sure if they need maintenance on their stuff or they want to add on some batteries later or anything, they want to know that that company's going to still be there. They can go to them.
So I suppose somebody could get a couple of different proposals from a couple different
Very
companies.
common. Yep.
And then they upload it into their AI, to their Gemini, their Chat GPT, or whatever it is. And I actually like to use multiple, like ask different questions, because I get different answers, because AI is usually wrong to some degree. So it takes like a human to keep the AI in check too, because you get like some answers that are just obviously stupid and wrong. Sometimes I tell my AI, like, you're stupid. But first I ask it, will it hurt your feelings? Because then some of my friends are like, you can't treat your AI that way. Someday it's going to get back at you,
Possibly.
So that's kind of like a neat angle, because it's good to keep the solar companies in check and the solar salespeople in check, because if there's nothing keeping them in check, then it could be worse. And then like there might be 10% of the companies out there are bad, and they give the whole industry a bad reputation.
Oh, that certainly has been a thing in the past. And I think the word transparency is sort of what you're talking about. AI has created a lot more transparency to all sides of the equation. And, it's creating efficiency too. And that's another thing that's, critical to this industry right now, is as we've lost the tax credits and as people are trying to, accommodate for finding better sources of power to not pay the huge prices their utility bills are charging for, we've got to become more efficient. So the technology, the learning process, sales process, all that leads to a cheaper price per watt. So we've got to, that's part of what AI is bringing to the table as well. Efficiency.
So, and you guys are making the software, so you're not like in there doing the installs or getting involved on that
Correct.
side.
We're just on the enablement side.
So do you kind of see what people are charging price per watt, things like that? And it makes it more complicated now too, like batteries are involved. So you go like, what's the price per watt? It's like, the battery has to be separate.
Yeah, we definitely see a lot of it, what's going to be sent out, because we help a lot with the contracting and everything and financing, making sure it's all available right in the proposal. They don't have to open up a bunch of tabs or anything like that. So we help them facilitate that to make sure, dealer fees are all done. Some things like batteries may not be, susceptible to dealer fees and something like that. So we want it to all math out so that it works for them. They have a clear idea of what they're going to get paid. The customer knows what they're going to pay. And, it's a project that starts off with, a high chance of success, and not having to come back being like, hey, I forgot to include the fact that I have to drive 60 miles to get to your house, and now you have to pay $200 more because I forgot to include the price of that into anything. So they want to get everything right the first time, especially when stuff like permitting is involved down the line. Saving a couple minutes in the house is nothing if you have to take several weeks for something to go back through a city again. So getting it right the first time is very important to us.
We interrupt you for a very important announcement. Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast has been brought to you by Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. That's right, Sean White is sponsoring his own podcast, and he wants to remind you to go check out some of his classes. You can go to SolarSEAN, that's Solar, SEAN.com, and then click on the links to check out his classes. You can check out his heat spring classes, and you can also hire him to teach classes for you, like at your company, something like that. Now back to the show.
For the solar salespeople, what do you see as their incentive? Like there's one way that they call it Redline. Do you know, are familiar with that?
Yeah.
Where they just draw a price. They go like anything over 250 a watt you get. I guess what if they sold it for 240 watt, then they'd have to pay to sell it, right? So
Get a smaller commission check.
Yeah. And so they have that type of a system. Do you see other types of systems out there for selling residential solar?
Yeah, the EPC I worked for in Oregon, we did not do a red line. We just had a flat commission rate, incentives for battery and other things. And I think, again, back to your point around transparency and people getting multiple bids, using a source like Energy Sage, which is a consumer site you go to and request 5 different bids.
Just talked to Energy Sage yesterday. They were on the podcast.
Really? Perfect. Yeah, that creates a lot of transparency and people getting more equitable deals, if you will, from the provider they chose. So, in the past, there wasn't as many, or it sounded so good and it was so easy that red lines were getting taken advantage.
And do you see like the solar salespeople? Are they like working for the solar installation company a lot of the times, or are they separate, or is it a combination?
Both,
I guess.
yeah, definitely.
And we were kind of talking about like the solar installation company should be in a way more responsible for what the salespeople are doing. So like if it's a Redline at $250 and they're selling it for $5 a watt, they're kind of ripping somebody off, like doubling the price and half the money goes to the salesperson. That would be kind of bad. So that when they look at your software, I guess they could see like how much the solar salesperson is getting. And maybe they would even say that you cannot get greater than a certain amount because it's, we don't want to be associated with somebody that's, charging $10 a watt for something that costs $2 a watt or, something like that.
There's a whole host of guardrails, we call them in our system, that the EPC, who's maybe has sales groups working for them, can put in place to kind of curtail some of that behavior.
Yeah.
But again, I think, the great reckoning that we've all been through over the past 18 months has probably flattened out that red line and that people taking advantage of those, that doesn't exist as much anymore.
Yeah.
Some of the states have implemented more disclosures around the financing, the dealer fees that used to get kickbacks to the sales group. So a lot of that's kind of settled down, which is in favor of the homeowner. It's getting a cheaper price, making the ROI better.
Yeah,
sure.
So solar was definitely kind of the poster child for high pressure sales for a long time. But now, with the reckoning that, like you were mentioning, everything is so referral based because people want somebody they can trust that it's much more likely that somebody's going to understand the value of giving somebody a good deal is only going to lead them getting more deals. And it's not as like, I'm going to get in the house, I'm the first person to talk to them, which means they have no concept of how much this should cost. I'm going to close them right now, and then I'm going to run away with the money. That's thankfully much less common now.
So with your software, like who's buying the software more often? Is it going to be the installation company, which could include the salesperson? Or do you have like salespeople that are purchasing your software, or like just a combination of everything?
It's a combination of everything, but more so the PCs and the installers are paying for the solution, enabling the sales groups to use that solution. So there's that control. And they want to get those proposals and those designs back in a certain format. So there's some pressure there that they exert on the sales, use this tool.
And do you have people that are just the salespeople that are like lead generation or whatever? They use your software and then the solar installation company doesn't use your software? Is that like
correct?
Happens sometimes?
That happens, yeah.
Yeah, I guess like every different combination will happen.
There is, yeah.
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 Sure.
Yeah.
Very flexible.
All right. And so you guys are not like the computer geeks that are making the code and all that kind of stuff. I could just tell by what your vibe. Yeah.
That's my specialty.
You're not all like pale, you could be paler, I guess you could say, because it is wintertime.
That's kind of the true story.
So once again, SOLO stands for
Speed of light operations.
Yeah.
Speed of Light Operations, and your website is
GoSolo.io.
GoSolo.io. What is IO? I know I've heard it a million times.
That is a great question. I don't know exactly what that.
I actually know what it is. It's as far as I know, it's a domain in the Indian Ocean.
Indian Ocean. Okay. No, they have all that kind of stuff. There's like .tv. It's like Tuvulia. Or
it's Tuvalu. Like yeah.
And I think there's .ai is one of those here. It's just like some country just gets lucky to have the right initials, and
it just sounds nice.
Yeah, some little island country of 2 people, and then their whole economy is based on selling the domain names or something.
Right.
Very cool. All right. So I hope you guys are having a great time over here in San Diego at the Intersolar Conference, and it's been great talking to you. And I think you guys are going to do great with your software and getting everybody to get solar, put it up on your roofs and energy storage. I'm sure your software works with energy storage.
Absolutely.
Right? You have to these days.
Yeah.
And back in the days, it was like people were like, energy storage, that's dumb, because it was just like, it wasn't cost effective. It was like for backup.
Yeah.
For preppers like me. All right.
A lot of doomsday preppers for sure.
Yeah. And we love those doomsday preppers and bunkers and all that stuff. It just sounds like fun. So thank you so much, Tim Price, and thank you so much, Trace Jenkins. And thanks for listening to Shawn White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. You could go to SolarSEAN.com and get all kinds of certifications, like NABCEP certifications. They have them for sales, for design, for maintenance, all that kind of stuff. I have the classes, SolarSEAN.com. Take my classes or hire me to come to your place and I will do the class there. It'll be fun. Woo!